What's up, Saber folks? I'm here with a Saberforge Consular tutorial. I've got green LEDs in both of these guys, and I bought two of them. I bought a warrior tier, which would be this one with no sound, and then a champion tier with sound, viridian sound font in the other. We'll be going over both of them, and the structure, customer service, things like that, as in-depth and as fair as possible. So I'm going to try to give as much information as possible, as quickly as possible, that is unbiased and impartial. So with that said, let's move on to customer service. Customer service is actually pretty good. Didn't have any problems with them at all. They responded. They gave me a follow-up email 3 days after I ordered. Got this within a week, which I know is pretty unique and rare, just within Sabers and getting them and stuff. So it could be for a couple of reasons. One, I live fairly close to Oregon. Two, I also mentioned I would be doing a review to them in the email. Don't know if that actually played a role, but here we are, and I got it within a week, which from my experience and research is unheard of. I did, however, have an issue with the blades. All of them actually have the same problem. There we go. You can see it in that one. This one here, you can see that there's a gap. I hope you can see that here. There's a slight gap, which I was getting nitpicky, but you know what? When you pay over $50,000 for something, you expect it to be perfect, and it wasn't. So I messaged them, and they responded, and they sent me a new one within less than a week, which, I mean, I can't really complain about that. The problem is the one they sent also had that problem, but to a smaller degree. And I looked at the one that I thought was the good one, and actually they all have that very slight, minute problem. Don't really want to contact them again, don't really want to deal with that, but maybe I can. They are warranted for full contact dueling, so... and I haven't had any problems with the blade so far with regards to that. And so that takes care of customer service pretty much. The reason for purchase, my intention for purchasing these specific sabers was I wanted to do flips with some sabers. I wanted them to be small, pretty reasonable. These are, so the length of this one is 10 inches all the way across. So this square here is 10 inches. Hope you can see that here. That's a solid 10. I think on the site it says 9.5. I'm not going to say anybody's lying or anything, but I don't think that's entirely true based on what I've got right here. They weigh not nearly as much as I was concerned about, which I'm glad for. And yeah, so I wanted staffs. I got the 26-inch blades because I wanted to be able to jump and do flips with them, and trying to do that with a 37-inch blade is a little ridiculous. But yeah, basically I wanted a staff. So that's what I got. I got two couplers, and that's that. I personally like the aesthetic of the smaller one. I feel like there's more going on in this small space than there is this. It's like the same thing but longer. Feels a little, it's not flimsy at all, but it just feels thinner, and I'm just not as much of a fan. This one feels much more robust, but I can assure you that this one works just fine. It's the setup that I used when I was spinning it earlier. So this is the width of my hand, so this is absolutely perfect for me. It adds a perfect amount of length to it. Good deal with that. And another reason too is I heard some funny things about Saberforge with their sound, and the more you order, basically, like the worse quality the stuff that comes out. So I only ordered one with the viridian sound font. Didn't want to go full RGB, all that 6 sound banks or whatever, because I didn't want to risk that becoming a problem. So here we are. And so far with regards to the staff, it's worked out just fine. Let's move on to the structure. So the structure of the Saber is it's exactly how it looks. You got a lovely 4-window emitter here, which I love, which is one of the primary reasons that I got it. It was like I wanted windows. I like windows. I wish there was something in between each of these windows, because I feel like this is a little bit of a dead space here. But you know what? I'm not complaining, because it's still gorgeous. It feels like a standard Jedi's lightsaber, at least in my mind. My one gripe, I love these. My one gripe is how thick this part is relative to this. My hands are not that big, so for me it's not super comfortable to spin from the bottom. But it doesn't matter, because I usually end up gripping high. The weight of the backside actually helps a lot with spins anyway, especially to counter the weight of the blade, which is more than I would have expected. But again, still very manageable, especially since the speaker, the soundboard is in this bottom part, and this is like definitely the heavier part of this saber, and it makes sense because again it's designed to have the larger part of the blade here. but yeah, I like it. There's something going on in every section. There's an emitter. You've got 4 windows from every direction. Love it. There's 1, 2, 3 little hand grips, which and I thought I was going to grab it like this and like that. This isn't super comfortable. I thought maybe I would grab it here because this is like a perfectly comfortable grip for your hands, but as a result, you end up pressing the button a lot, which is pretty annoying, I think. But yeah, so then we go up here and we've got the there's 2 more of them. It's hard to see on camera, but actually this one is clearly designed for your fingers and this one is not as much. But again, so the complaints I've heard about the grip and things with Saberforge, not a huge problem with the Saber at all. In fact, none of it is, with the exception of the edge, the tip of the emitter and the windows right here. Those are the only problems where I feel a little bit of what they're talking about with the sharpness. But again, with this Saber, it's a nice starter Saber. Not hugely concerned with it. But yeah. So that's pretty much it. So we got the pommel down here, which is nice. And again, this is the warrior tier, so there's no sound in it or anything. I think I can pull the battery out. So it's just standard, just like any other Saber. Yeah, and fun fact, actually, the warrior tier and the champion tier have for the same hilt, actually, for Saberforge. I don't know if this is because it's an older model or what's going on, but these 2 pommels are actually slightly different. They're not long or anything, but there's a weird difference in, I don't know if you can see that here, but the whole, it's not that it's narrow, it's just the way that the pommel is structured. It's just slightly different. I don't know how to explain. This part is wider than this part. This is more narrow, and this is a little bit, the design is the same on the other one as well. It's exactly the same. The weight difference between the 2 isn't really noticeable. I haven't had any problems with it. Could also be that when I switch my hilts like this, the one on the left always feels heavier. It could be just because my left hand is in fact weaker than my right or my left arm. Again, for gripping, this is great. I usually end up gripping high on this guy because I just hate pressing the button or like making the blaster sound for no reason on this one, or just turning it on and off, which is really annoying. Happened a few times when I was spinning with the staff, so I'm learning to grab it here when it's in the staff, and when I'm single or dual wielding, going up top. And plus, I still get to have, this feels good, and I still get to have the emitter windows visible as well, so you still get to see the blade color. I will say though that both of these scratch really easily. My fingernails have cut this a couple of times. Not cut, but like, I mean, you can't see it. There's no way you're going to be able to see this on this on the camera here. But yeah, so there are slight scratches that I have done. I know for a fact that I did. On the coupler especially, I was a little bummed that happened so quickly, but such is metal work, I suppose. Yeah, these are my first Saber, so this is my indoctrination into the community, basically. Pretty happy with the purchase overall for the most part. Now let's move on to the blade review. So the blade is pretty great. I got a 26-inch. This is a little blade dust thingy that I made just out of tape and a piece of plastic. This is a 26-inch blade, good for flipping, good for doing jumps and stuff. Maybe it's not like a dueler, but I just hand my friend the other one, and then we just play with the 26-inch, and we're on even ground. So it's not a problem. Again, and it's just so much better for spinning for me because I'm not exactly the tallest individual, under 6 foot. So having a 26-inch, especially in a staff mode, is I would say essential. Extremely helpful for me personally. The blade is a little bit heavier than I would have thought, just because you're thinking lightsaber. You're like, oh, it's lightsaber, so it's weightless. Yeah, well, this isn't actually. This is a tube in a really expensive flashlight. That's really, really cool. But yeah, and as far as durability goes, I haven't had any problems with them at all. I kind of went, we did some choreography. Didn't do anything super crazy. I'm still a little scared to go 100%. But they're holding up so far, despite my concern about this blade tip issue. Let's see if I can find the worst one here for you. There it is, very obviously not completely glued or screwed on. This is what people are talking about with Saberforge. It's like they started and then they just didn't finish it. But if this pops off, apparently they're warranted for full contact dueling. So if it pops off, I just get a new one. And it came to me in 3 or 4 days. So It sounds like they're doing some serious work on their customer service, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you, Saberforge. But yeah, so that's essentially the blade again. I think shorter is better if you're under 6 foot, and if you're over 6 foot, you probably want to go higher. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you are ordering a blade, you do lose about, I want to say 2.5, 3 inches going all the way down this guy. It's about that much for me, so it's like got to be, yeah, you lose about 2 inches, 2.5 inches on the blade length that you got. So you order like a 30, you get 28. You order a 26, get a 24, which is fine because I actually have been doing flips with foam katanas that are that length. One final thing to note about the blades here is that I haven't actually seen a scuff at all, really. Again, my biggest pet peeve is definitely that these tips are screwed on. You can see the glue and that they're not 100% for all of them. The other pet peeve I have is that you can see the foil running all the way up. You can't really see it here. It has to be lit for you to see it, but it is obvious. You can actually see it maybe down here. I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, you can see the glue, I think, but you can't really see the foil or whatever that they got. Yeah, the foil kind of takes a little bit of the illusion out of it. But again, it's still pretty cool, man. Got my lightsabers, so I'm not complaining too much here. Now let's move on to the electronics section. Right here we've got a warrior tier and we've got a champion tier. So no sound in this guy. We'll go ahead and fire this guy up real quick. So pull out the kill key real quick. Here we go. Something to note, these kill keys are not flush perfectly with the edge, which could just be because it's plastic and maybe it just melted in the package on the way, just for a number of reasons. Just something to keep in note if you're somebody who's a extremely detail-oriented person, which I have now become because I've spent, you spend over $500,000 on this stuff, and you pay attention, and also all these other reviews as well. So let's go ahead and fire this guy up. Boom. So this is the green LED. To my understanding, I didn't really have an option for wattage, so it should be 12 watt, at least in the drop-down menu ordering process. But I like the color, always have. Just feel like it fits me personally. I also heard that it was the brightest one. Don't know if that's true or not, but again, I really enjoy that color. You can really see the emitter windows look really nice. You can have it, if you just turn it slightly, it looks like there's more than just one when you come straight on. You're just, oh look, there's 2. Can't really see 3 at a time, but that's okay because I'm totally fine with that too. It's pretty bright. It's not bright enough to see during the day, but any indoor lighting, it's really bright. You can totally see it. This is like half charge, I think, by now, because I've been playing with some friends and just swinging around outside for actually a month. So I've only recharged these guys like I think once for this guy and then twice for this guy. One more today, which I'll get into in a second. Really love this clicky switch. It's nice to know that it's in and that it's not. I do appreciate that personally. The blade plug is also nice. Oh shoot, let me do that really quick. The blade plug is cool. I really like this little design, little holocron thingy going on. The fun little words or letters on the little letters. I don't know if you can see that. That's just a fun little detail. I'm sure they made this super duper cheap. Basically, the blade plug is literally just part of the blade. They just cut probably the stuff that they can't use and just put it on. It does kind of bother me again that they use the glue, and the glue is so obviously. I don't know if you can really see that. But the glue is so obviously in there and it's not totally even and stuff like that. So these are the little things. These are little things that people knock Saberforge for, which I fully understand, especially if you're going to spend the full price for one of these, the big ones. If you're spending like over $1,000 or something like that, I fully understand the detail. All right, so this is the money one, right? This is the one that costs a bunch. A lot of good things, a lot of bad things. I still don't think they use a chassis or anything. That hasn't been a problem because I've been waving this around, smacking it against they're fighting each other, and haven't been a problem at all. My big problem is when I started with this, I didn't know if I was pressing the button or not, so I had a tough time controlling, is it going to turn on, is it going to do the blaster noise, am I turning it off? After you play with it for a little bit, you will figure that out. And I assume this would be similar on most of the sabers. I doubt that it's just this one. Let's go ahead and boot this guy up, pull out the kill key.
Safety core, viridian.
It's a fun sound. I always enjoy it. Whoa, super loud. So that's it without the blade plug in it. It is, again, it's pretty bright. ahead and put that guy in there for you. This goes a blade plug in there. Cool. Same thing as the other one. This was just charged, so this is actually markedly brighter. I can visually tell you right now that this is so much brighter. I have had a few problems with it though, and I'll go into that in a second. So there's your whoosh, right? Which is good. One of my problems with this is, here, hold on, let me just go ahead and there's a blaster noise, right? Which is a blaster noise and not a deflect noise. There's the boot down. Sounds really great when you charge it up. It definitely does. So there's actually a lot of little fine points about the electronics, at least so far, about this guy. I've had issues with charging it, so basically when I charge it fully, it kind of like shorts. It goes on. This is just for me. I don't know if this is just my normal or what's going on. I fire it up, and then after like 30 seconds, it boots down. So I just have the kill key out for like 20-30 minutes, not even, maybe like 10-15, sorry. And then it works fine, just like you saw. It is a little bit annoying, but it works, and I'm a little afraid to send it back to Saberforge just because, you know, what people have said about, you know, the shipping process back and forth. But it works fine. Yeah, so again, pretty impartial. I'm probably not going to send it back unless it gets really bad, and as long as it gets to after that initial charge, then it's fine. I think it's possible that I overcharged it, so it's like just, I don't know, overheated or what it is, but it's interesting little problem. I also think that because I added vibration, it actually does add to the phantom sounds. I heard rumors of that on the internet, and I looked that up recently, and I think that might be true. I think also, in my experience, the higher charge that it is, the more phantom swings that I think I get. And I spin this quite a bit. It does lag. It's not perfect, so if you were thinking, oh, this will be perfect, it does. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and the sound does come out. The sound is a little grainier than I would have expected. It definitely sounds and looks way better on camera. I will say that too. The blades look better on camera. This looks better on camera. You can't see any of the little tiny scratches that I did myself just by accident. Even just my thumbnail scratching it as I swing it around. Blade looks brighter, looks better, and the sound actually sounds way better on camera than it does in real life. That's again me being nitpicky, but again I paid over $50,000 for it, so for these guys for the whole set. One thing to note that on the champion tier here is that, and it could just be in my head, that this blade sort of wobbles only on this one. I don't have that problem at all with the warrior tier over here. But yeah, so that's something to note as well. Just go ahead and let you see that, and what it looks like with it all in. Gorgeous. Again, looks much better. Looks way better on camera than it does in person. So if you're filming stuff, this is perfect. It still looks good. Definitely still looks good. And you'll feel cool when you get it. Again, I got vibration in mine because it just feels like I'm actually igniting a lightsaber. But I do think it does, I'm not sure, but I think it does drain the battery a little bit faster than it would. I also think it contributes to phantom swings. And that's that sensitivity's on 1, by the way, and the impact is also on 1. So I tapped some stuff and didn't go ksh, and that's because if I do put it on anything above 1, I find that it's overly sensitive. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But it's definitely something that I'm okay with using. I'm working with it and getting to the point where I can kind of finagle it and play with it and sort of get those swings to work the way I want them to, like whoosh, and kind of get that to work how I like. Yeah, so that pretty much takes care of what we're doing with the 2 hilts. I'll go ahead and put these guys together. I'll do it with, I'm going to do it with this one because this is the one that I've spun with the most. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll see you in a bit. So we're going to go ahead and continue with the staff review. So we go ahead and I went and put this guy together really quick, and basically, yeah. So fun fact, these actually aren't aligned at all. In any capacity, this is what you get. You get boom. So that's that. And maybe it's random, maybe it's not, I don't know. I feel like last time I put it together, I was able to get them this close, which may be the opposite of this, but at any rate. I heard that if I get jewelry washers or something from Michaels, I can kind of even them out sort of and make the turn kind of get perfectly even. You do need to, it does wobble if you don't fully turn it in, so be sure that when you're playing around with it that you do, just because you don't want to drop this thing because it's kind of expensive. But yeah, and again, the reason why I was like, oh, I'm going to get one with sound in it, one with not, is because didn't want to take too much of a risk on Saberforge with the sound, but also I figured that it would resonate here in this chamber, and it would work for both, and it pretty much does. In terms of length for grabbing, depends on what kind of, I mean, are you just kind of a spinner? If you're a spinner, personally, I enjoy just messing around with that. I like to do some martial arts forms and stuff with this, so for me, I like that, having that whole, just playing around. I can have that full grip, and it's, I think, all the way across. This guy is, let me measure this real quick on this board. Comes out to be 22, almost, very close to 22 inches. 21 and 3/4. 21 and 3/4-ish. So that's that guy. But yeah, no, I really enjoy it, and I'll go ahead and boot it up for you so you can kind of hear it both sides. Make it look pretty and line it up for you, even though it's not optimal necessarily.
Saberforge, viridian.
And then we go pop that guy out as well. Cool, and then we'll go ahead and... Awesome. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this real quick. Yeah, see, it's not really a problem. It actually, in some ways, it almost works better with the, let's see if we can pop that guy here. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we got going here. I think it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Again, this is seems a little bit thick for me, or to me. I like the width of this much better. It would have been so cool if we could have gotten, say, would have been so cool if we could have gotten, say, maybe this to be the width of this guy, of the emitter. Would have been cool, but again, can't complain. Got what I got, and I like it. It's pretty good. Some final thoughts here. Pretty much, it is what it is. I've gone over pretty much everything that I think I wanted to go over. And yeah, so my final verdict is, Saberforge isn't as bad as the worst that I've seen. I think it does depend on what you order. I got these fast. It's possible because they may have just had these ready to go. I don't know that. And I think the more you order, the more pieces, the more things that go into your order, the more likely it is to get messed up. In their defense, I did see a lot of stuff that was being ordered. Don't know if that's the little app in the bottom left corner of their website saying some guy ordered it from France, Germany, Russia, just different places that they're ordering from, and that it's happening all the time. So I can imagine that you would get pretty easily overwhelmed when you have tons and tons of orders. So that makes sense that there are people that are having bad experiences, and I am somebody who has a very low tolerance for poor customer service. So if I do have issues with these folks, then I will stop buying from them. With regards to future interactions with them, I say definitely don't be afraid of buying the warrior tier stuff. This is beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it gets the job done, especially if you just want to do stunts, you want to add in sound later to your films. This is gorgeous. Go for it. It will probably scratch pretty easily. I'm sure it depends on the materials that you go for when you buy your hilt. But again, so not as bad as what has been said, but it's definitely not, I'm not a fanboy. I'm not going to say it's the best thing in the world, because there are a little bit of faults. So in some, blades came not entirely glued in, but still pretty solid. Haven't had any problems with dueling. Soundboard is pretty good. It's a little grainier than I'd like it to be. It's not as accurate, and there are phantom swings and phantom whooshes on occasion in the lowest possible setting, which I was hoping that the settings would be more clearly delineated, and they're really not. It's kind of like low setting and high setting, and that's just in my experience. But yeah, hopefully you guys like the video. Hopefully you guys got a lot of things from it. With that said, thanks a lot, and see you again soon.